obscured the sunset. The occasional rays of sunshine that escaped were not enough to banish the ominous mood the thick clouds compounded inside of me. The luxurious pontoon boat moved effortlessly across the darkened, too calm smoothness of the lake, and Harold's mansion began to fade with the shoreline in the distance. The beautiful redhead in the green dress sipped her glass of champagne across the deck from me. I looked away shyly, although I knew I was being silly. The reason for a woman like that to associate with me reared in my head. I had discovered the cure to Ebola, even though no one knew about it yet. Instead of walking over to her, I looked at the lake. My mind once again went over the results of my latest simulation. But a firm hand falling on my shoulder interrupted my worries. James, have I ever told you about how I made my first million? Harold had, many times. I was sick of it, though I shook my head to hide my frustration. I bought up a bunch of swampland in Florida with my dad's credit cards, leveled it, filled it, and sold it for 10 times what those stupid assholes I sold it to me for. Everyone in this world is a sucker, he laughed. I decided to once again attempt to warn him of treating the cure as another get-rich-quick scheme. It had never been about saving lives for him. It had been just about trying to get rich. What if we had made an error? Harold, I think we should do further research on a mutation I found in my simulation. The redhead and the blonde and the raven-haired girl walked over to us, fawning over Harold. Come here, sweeties! The girls surrounded him, and I was crowded out, my concern obviously not finding a grip in his mind. Forget about it, James. I already told you that an additional stimulation is irrelevant after we move into human trials with the FDA. His dismissal was beginning to make me angry. I checked my phone to see if the new test results had given results yet. Nothing. I looked back in disgust. Excuses for getting out of this trip left my mind. I wished that I had turned down this offer, but I was always being pulled into these kind of things. I didn't want to be here. My eyes strayed towards the women he was groping, despite my shyness and distraction. The blonde wore a black dress with holes down the sides that showed way too much skin. The black-haired girl wore a floor-length sheer red dress with 2 opaque stripes. There was a gross contrast between them and Harold. At 65, he was overweight, bald, with a stomach that shook with each strained step. His unkempt beard was always full of his last meal, and the current remnants made me want to vomit as much as the repulsive way he was grabbing those girls. I tried to forget the scene in front of me, and my thoughts drifted to the past. I had spent the last 10 years looking for the cure for Ebola, a disease that no one had heard of since the mid-90s and was mostly forgotten about, except my little lab. Everyone had called me a genius back when I graduated from Harvard. I was at the top of my med school class, but Harold had pulled me in to cure the deadly disease. I had really spent the last 10 years reporting that man. Progress had been slow. We had nearly given hope till a year ago when we finally made a breakthrough. I had found a virus that was more aggressive and overcame the existing infection and eradicated it with no harmful side effects. We had tested on animals and everything had worked. We had found the miracle cure. The FDA had approved us for human trials and the study was underway. But a worry kept sprouting up in my mind as they recalled the details of my simulation. The FDA had only used 3 patients that had been approved in the US, and they were inside of a well-controlled sterile lab without any outside contamination. The FDA would, of course, find that it was perfect, and then release the virus on the market. A pain gripped my stomach just thinking about my simulation results. I kept trying to tell Harold about that one thing that kept waking me up in the middle of the night. to run the simulation with a non-clean set of samples. And that's when I noticed the mutation in the virus. It had caused all the subjects to die in a worse way than Ebola. That was the fear that kept waking me up. The dream was full of blood. I had corrected what I thought had caused the instability in the original virus and created a new version and reran it, and I didn't see it happen again. But I had just reran the original test to see if my calculations were wrong, and I added even more environmental changes, like HIV or malaria. I looked at my results again. They hadn't come back yet. You're probably wondering why I invited you out here tonight. He had to speak loudly over the noise of the boat engine. I turned from him, looking out over the edge. Now the blonde was rubbing his shoulders, and the black-haired girl was rubbing his large belly. The redhead was feeding him grapes. I couldn't believe it. She was feeding him grapes like he was some kind of king. The dark red grape juice ran down his beard and mixed with the salmon from dinner. The texture looked like bloody intestines. My stomach lurched. James, I brought you out here to share with you some amazing news, but I'm just waiting on a call to confirm it. Until then, go get yourself something to drink. Bits of grape spurted out the sides of his mouth as he spoke. I took my chance and walked down to the galley and started pouring the rum into a cup. The redhead came down the stairs. My heart started pounding. The tight green dress showed every curve of her lean, fit, but curvaceous body. I forced myself to act cool and took a sip of my drink. She had an empty bowl and started grabbing more grapes. She was getting him more damn grapes. Hey, she said in a voice that sounded so ordinary and casual. Hi, I said back. Her dress had sparkles in it. I wonder how long we're going to be out. I have homework that I need to finish. You're in college? Yeah, do you think I was going to do this forever? I spent way too much time wondering what she meant. She looked into my eyes for the first time, leaving the grapes mid-transfer. I noticed her green eyes matched her dress. They too sparkled. Oh, wow, she shook her head. I'm a prostitute. Sure, I said in the coolest voice I could muster, with almost no breath in my body. She was standing right next to me with the grapes. I could feel the warmth in her body. Yeah, your friend is a super rich jerk. I got called in even though I was off tonight. Yeah, I'm not happy about it right now. I thought back to my nightmare. The billions of dead people who all died because of my virus. I wanted to check my phone, but I felt it would be rude right now. I guess we all have our own problems, I mumbled. Yeah, well, I'm almost done with grad school, and this assignment is worth 20% of my grade, but I guess it's not the end of the world. So what's the big occasion anyway? I'm not really sure, I said. She put down the grapes and sort of slumped against the counter next to me. I noticed big tears welling up in her eyes. I'm sorry, can I do something? I just want to go back to my normal life before I got this stupid job. It's funny, you know? You're the kind of guy I'd love to date, but now guys like you hate me. I'm really sorry, I don't hate you. What's your name? She looked up again and leaned into me with her eyes inches from mine. She examined me with curiosity. She whispered, Jasmine. She leaned in closer, and I felt her lips on mine. I was too surprised to kiss back. She pulled away and started putting grapes in the bowl again, as if nothing happened. It's okay, it's fine, I'll get home, I'll finish my homework, everything will be fine. Suddenly, Harold's head popped in. I got the call! As he breathlessly lumbered down the stairs, I held my breath, wondering how he knew where the next step would be. For a moment, I hoped the stairs would snap under his massive weight. But clearly the man hadn't seen his penis in years. The thought sickened me. I don't want to tell you until everything was ready. I waited, and the other two girls came down, making the small wooden paneled galley even smaller and more cramped. The FDA approved the virus 2 weeks ago. No. My mind spun. The ship seemed to tilt on its side. We were supposed to wait another 3 months. How did they finish so quickly? Well, the huge pressure from the investors due to the U.S. outbreaks of Ebola, everyone wanted to rush the virus to production as soon as we verified the human trials were done. We were able to escalate successfully, and the FDA testing is done. You mean we've already manufactured the virus? I quickly wondered which version he did manufacture. I couldn't breathe. Which version did you use? I asked. The FDA approved the one that we gave them. Thousands of doses are already in clinics around the world. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? I stammered. I've been busy. You think my only job is giving you status updates? Anyways, isn't it better to learn out here on this boat in the water at sunset? God damn, I'm smooth. Right, ladies? The blonde and the raven girl nodded, but Jasmine seemed over it. The pounding of my heart made it hard for me to hear him. The ship seemed to be completely sideways. I grabbed onto the counter, and Jasmine caught me. Thousands of doses used in uncontrolled environments. He opened his email on his phone and clicked a link for CNN. He started showing a reporter that was following a doctor. The doctor was injecting a patient with the drug. Both of them were smiling. I pulled up my phone to see if my results had come back. In red font, the results showed that 100% of the patients had the mutated virus when it was exposed to HIV or malaria. I looked back at the smiling doctors. I just couldn't even watch. I realized I had done it. I closed my eyes, and the red, bloody faces of the dead across the globe flashed before my eyes from my dream. So congratulations, James, cheers! He raised his glass, but mine hung limply in my fingertips. Jasmine was still holding me up. Her touch felt electric. Harold, you didn't listen to me. I told you the simulation found that there's a high probability the virus would mutate when contaminated and turn deadly. I just reran the simulation, and with the presence of HIV and malaria, it's 100% deadly. Don't be silly. The FDA approved it. We're in the clear. When I sold the injections, I made billions, and so did you. You're a rich man, James. I looked into Jasmine's dilated pupils. She got it. Jasmine, do you want to get out of here? Absolutely. Harold and the other two looked shocked. After I told the captain to drop us off, he did. On the way back to Jasmine's house, I explained to her there was a very, very good chance that the world would be over as we knew it. I asked her to trust me. She did. As Jasmine and I laid intertwined, listened, and flushed from sweat, I went over the past 7 weeks in my head. After grabbing some clothes from our houses and clearing out the local Walmart, I wondered if the cashier was lying dead in a pool of her own blood now. I wondered if she thought of us as she died after we cleared out the entire Walmart like the preppers do. Sadly, I knew she didn't die laughing. Safely tucked away in my virus-proof lab, Jasmine and I had watched the world slowly die courtesy of my 60-inch flat-screen TV. We had been working around the clock to come up with a virus to combat my supervirus and a vaccine to try to save anyone who might have made it. During my breaks, Jasmine and I had discovered every inch of each other's bodies, and I had moments of guilt for making her blush and watching her body respond to mine. If only we were the only two people left on Earth, was it my fault that I deserved to have a little bit of fun before I went to my own personal hell? We lost all radio signals, and my cure was finally done. I had simulated 1,000 times to make sure that it was really working. I leaned in and looked into Jasmine's green eyes as I let my fingers press her inner thigh. This is it. And momentarily, letting my tongue taste the sweat that had pulled at the base of her neck before our latest tryst. I pulled the syringe out and infected both of us. I wonder what lay ahead of us as we went outside to start our new lives.